context first. Um, okay. In recent year, we had a lot of technological progress in plant phenomics, and different various initiative and project, European project, a national project, have been led to help to structure the European phenotyping landscape, such as PHIS, PHENET, EPPN 2020, and this project enables researchers to use facilities, new devices, new resources, and new services. And this leads us to a challenge of sharing and reusing the data that have been measured in the different platforms and within the community. And that's why the data management is one key point for phenomics community. So we have phenomics data challenge. Why plant phenomics experiments need data management? First of all, they are expensive. They require a lot of technological resources, but also human resources, and they take time and they can be hard. Most of them, particularly the one in the field trials, cannot be reproduced. You cannot reproduce the climate of 1 year, and they will generate a lot of data, so huge data sets and complex data sets, because you have different kind of data. You can have images, you can have point clouds, you can have orthomosaics, you can have binary images, tabular data. And so you will need to have a strong, a strong transparency to allow you to reproduce your data analytics. So having a strong data management plan takes time, but you will save time after, because you will make your data valuable. It allow you to reanalyze them, to meta-analyze them, and to make new analyze. So that's why we are working on the FAIR principle. I think that most of you know the FAIR principle, so I won't have a slide especially on it, but just to keep them in mind. Your data need to be findable, they need to be accessible, they need to be interoperable, and they need to be reusable. And so we'll see how PHIS will allow to have fair data. So to have fair data, you need to structure your data. So we rely on two pillars for in the PHIS information system. The first of it is to have identification. Identification will lead you to findable and accessible data. So everything will be identified in your experiment. You will identify the plant, but you will also identify the pot in which the plant is, the cart that is leading the pot to the cabin, that is also identified. The camera taking the picture will be identified, the image will be identified. And so all these identifiers are persistent, unambiguous, and resolvable. Resolvable means that you can access to the metadata linked to this identifier. So we'll know the name of the cabin, the position of the cabin, the angle of the camera. We'll have metadata linked to this identification, and they will be accessible in one information system with a protocol such as REST web services. And the second pillar will be semantic. So semantic will lead you to interoperability and reusability of your data. So first of all, we rely on ontology. So we'll have an ontology describing the context of the information system. And so we'll have, for example, a plant. This plant is declared is the type plant. So it has the property linked to the plant object. This leaf is part of this plant, so we know the relationship between the plant and the leaf, but it's also type leaf, so we have the properties linked to this leaf. And all the ontology and the control vocabulary and these relationships that are formalized between the entities will allow us to improve deduction of information, to have a a good description of everything, to have someone looking at your data and making them understandable. We also use naming conventions. So, for example, for the variable, the traits you're going to measure, we rely on a convention describing the variable with the entity on which you're going to measure something, the characteristic you're going to measure. So here we are going to talk about plant perimeter that has been measured by the image processing and that is measured in millimeter. So just by having a look at the name of the variable, I can understand what I'm talking about. It's not a column that is just called perim, and so I don't know what is perim, and I can get this information. And we also formalize relationship to existing ontology and say that this plant perimeter is linked to another ontology and that is a close match of a concept in another ontology. So this is why PHIS is called an ontology-driven information system. So this is the landscape of PHIS landscape. So PHIS is here. So in PHIS, you will access to PHIS with a user interface that will allow you to navigate and to discover, to declare, to import all the metadata semantic description. What does mean metadata semantic description? It means that you will declare your experiment, the plots, the plants, the different factors you're going to study in your experiment, the sensors involved in the measurement, the variable you're going to measure. So all this context, for example, here we have the description of all these plants, the pots, the different microplots here that will be described into PHIS. We also declare the different sensors, the vectors such as UAV or field robots that will be declared into PHIS. And then we'll collect environmental data and phenotypic data. And then can be collected by importing them using the web interface, but also, for example, you're dealing with environmental data collected in a weather station. We have script with Python package and R packages that will allow you to have automatic pipeline to send data, your environmental data to PHIS. The same with phenotypic data. They can be imported straightly into PHIS, and then you will find your data. And if you have image, you will be able to declare your images on a file storage system. It can be iRods, it can be other file storage system, it can be one data. And you will have all your image processing analysis pipeline that will be described into PHIS. So you will be able to know how you get a data starting with an acquisition session with the field robots, for example. So behind PHIS, you have the OpenSilex software. So OpenSilex is developed by Mystea team in Montpellier. So we are an in-array team that works in Montpellier. And OpenSilex is the information system to deal with experimental data. So here, I'm here to talk to you about PHIS that is dedicated to the plant phenotyping community. But we have other OpenSilex label, such as Symphonia that is dedicated to wine, MVBIS that is dedicated to environment and bioprocesses, Senagri that is dedicated to agroecology, and 16 that is used at INRAE in the experimental unit dealing with annual crops, system trials, and arboricultures. So let's have a look on the technical part of PHIS and the architecture. Sorry, I have a little delay, but so you will deploy PHIS on an infrastructure. Infrastructure can be your computer if you have a small instance and with not a few data. But we recommend to deploy on a virtual machine and on a distributed infrastructure is always better. And if you have a lot of data files, it's better to have data file system adapt to data files. And then you will deploy PHIS with a data layer. The data layer will be stored in MongoDB. That is a NoSQL database that allow us to collect all the data, the geospatial information. The description of the experiment, all the semantic and the metadata will be stored in a triple store in RDF4G that will allow you to keep all the semantic information. And last but not least, the data files, so the raw images, the binary images, the images, the archives of the acquisition session will be stored on a data file storage. But if you are a user, you don't bother that. You just want to see your data and to declare your data. So that's why we've built a layer, an API layer with web services that allow us to connect directly the web interface. And so as a user, you will just see that and connect to that and navigate into that. And on this layer, you can also connect the different packages, R packages, Python packages that will allow you to collect your data automatically. We'll see we connect also the breeding API web services. We'll see this later on. So this is the basic PHIS architecture. And here we're here to talk about the EGI concept text. So the EGI ACE project allowed us to deploy PHIS on the EGI infrastructure cloud. So this project was led with the University of Helsinki and the University of Copenhagen. And so here is the basic PHIS architecture I just showed to you. So let's see how we deployed it on the EGI infrastructure. So we used, first of all, the cloud computing service. So we host the PHIS instance on the testnet MCC provider, and we use the DNS provided by EGI. Then we also implemented the EGI ACE check-in, the EGI check-in, sorry. So this is a service here that has been deployed there that allows the user to connect to a PHIS instance with his institutional login. So for example, INRAE login can be used to connect to PHIS due to EGI check-in. Then we also deployed storage. So I talked to you about the data file storage. So we use iRods that is provided by France Gris, and that is an EGI node. We also connected in the context of the University of Helsinki, we connected to S3 storage. And we are working on making a connection to one data, and so to the EGI data hub. And we also deployed some deep hybrid data cloud portal to host the data learning model. And the data of the data learning models can be sent to PHIS and declared and described to PHIS. So we call PHIS an ontology-driven system. So what does this mean? This means that we have ontology inside the application, inside the database. And this ontology allowed us to describe the scientific object. So the plants, the plots, the plant organs, they will be identified by URI. The events, so the management, the technical itineraries, the weather, the move, the troubles, they will be identified by URI. And then we'll declare the variable you're going to measure, the documentation about an experiment device or anything, the observations, the softwares, the devices, everything will be declared and identified by URI, and they will be associated with the object and the event. And so everything, all this linking of object and events, to do that, we use a controlled semantics. So we use a reference ontology, we use vocabularies, we use thesaurus, and to make this link, we use the semantic web languages such as RDF, OWL, or SCOS. That allow us to have languages that are used by all the web community. So What kind of ontology do we use in OpenSilex PHIS? We use standard ontologies. So these are ontologies that can be found in a lot of different information systems. So the time ontology to formalize the concept related to time. So that to formalize the concept related to the sensors. The annotation ontology to describe the annotation that you can do on every object, events, data. To formalize the concept related to document, we use the Dublin Car ontology, and we use FOF to describe the concept linked to persons. Then we use also domain ontology, such as the crop ontology, agro-ontology, plant ontology, unit ontology, to declare the domain speciality, so the plant, the plots, the unit you used to make the measurement. And then we have our own ontologies. So these are the application ontologies, the ontology of experimental scientific object, and the ontology of experimental events, in which we describe the main concept, the experiment objects, the experimental information, and we make the link between all these concepts, still using the RDF, SCOS, and all languages to make this link. So this is an example of an ontology in PHIS. So we'll find the experimental condition that will contain the equipment, the organization. An equipment can be a device can be actuator, control law, software, vector, a sensing device. And these are the main concepts used in the application. And for each concept, you can extend the concept and add your own concept, your own device type, and everything that will allow you to see it in the web application. We also have a variable model that it's not our variable model. It's a variable model that is used in the phenomic community. So you all know the trait, and the trait can be split in two main concepts: the entity and the characteristic. So here I have the plant 8, and I will specify which method I use to make this measurement and in which unity I make this measurement. So the web interface allow you to describe your variable with this entity, plant, characteristic, age, method, and unit. And then it will allow you to make the link to say this trait, plant 8, is linked to the trait 8 in the patho ontology. So it will allow me to specify what I'm going to measure and to say it's something that is already described in the community. And I'm talking about this plant 8. So this part can be tricky. Where do I find an ontology? How do I explore this ontology? Or do I find the right concept? So that's why we make the link to AgroPortal. So AgroPortal is a portal that index a lot of ontologies and semantic artifacts in the agri-food and related domains. So you have the link here, you can explore it. And so we made a development that allows us to, when you're declaring your variable, you can, here, this is the connection to AgroPortal, and we are exploring the different ontology declared in AgroPortal. So I can see I'm looking, I want to declare a leaf concept. And so I will see the different concept, ontological concept declared in AgroPortal. And I can choose one and say, okay, this definition of leaf is really the one I want to declare in my PHIS instance. I can enrich this concept and specify the definition, add my own description, and I can also align this concept with my leaf and say this leaf, leaf definition is a close match to my leaf definition. And so this is a small map representation of the different concepts declared into PHIS and the link between the concepts. So we can see that one experiment as organization, can as project, as group, as scientific object. The scientific object is what you're going to study. So on this scientific object, we'll study the effect of a factor with a modality. A scientific object will be linked to genetic resources. The device will allow to make measurement of a data that is linked to a variable. So we have all these concepts that are formalized in ontology in the database. And so these concepts are aligned with a lot of standards of the community. So let's start with the breeding API. So the breeding API, what is it? It's a specification, a standard specification. So you have the link to the website if you want to learn more. And it allows you to develop your own API, but to align your API to the specification that is used in the community of plant breeding data. So you will find different web services that allow you to access to the data. The core web services that allow you to get the description of the organization and management, so the programs, the studies, the trials. Then you will have the phenotyping web services that will allow you to get the observation units, the variables, the traits, the methods, the images, the value of this measurement, of course. And the genotyping part has not been developed into PHIS because we are not this level of description of the genotype, but we have the germplasm part that allow you to access to your genetic resource, such the germplasm attribute, the seed lots. So in the PHIS web services, we have implemented this breeding API web services in the version 1.3. So here is the description of the different protocols that we have into PHIS. And to have these web services implemented allow us to be compatible with the different other information system of the community. And for example, to be indexed into the FEDER portal that index the data, experimental data of the plant phenotyping community. Another linkment we have when we build PHIS, we build it linked to MyAPI. So MyAPI stands for minimum information about plant phenotyping experiment. And so it's also a data standard that allow to describe, that tells you how to describe your experiment. And this standard is mapped with other standards. So the breeding API, we already talked about that, and also ISA tools. So PHIS is MyAPI term compliant. Here is the small map I showed you of the different PHIS concept. And on the left part, you have the MyAPI model, and you can see that it's not the same name, but we find the study as the experiment into PHIS. We find the treatments that will be a factor into PHIS. The treatment value is the factor level. And then you have the observation unit that will be the scientific object and the variable that is the observed variable. So we have a compatible representation that means that if you have an experiment described using MyAPI standard, it will be very easy to import it into PHIS. Another standard is ICASA that has been developed by AGMIC project. So it's an agricultural model in comparison and improvement project. And ICASA is a data dictionary, very detailed, that allow you to describe all your experiment and measurement in a format that will allow you to feed agronomical models. And so we're working on the link between PHIS and ICASA. That means that with an ICASA data file, we'll be able to create into PHIS automatically the experiment and to declare the variable, the data, and everything. So that's work in progress. So maybe I've been talking a lot about PHIS, and now I will show you how does this look like. So let's connect to, so does this work if I click here? Should work. So this is one PHIS instance, and this is the PHIS, one of the PHIS instances that have been deployed on the EGI Cloud. So it's hosted on the EGI Cloud, and here you can see that we have implemented the connection with EGI check-in. So this is the login page. So with this login page, I will connect with one login, and linked to this login, I will have some rights. So I will be allowed to see some menu, to see some data. And so it's important because when you're using PHIS, some of your data can be accessible to everyone. So here we can see the data by connecting as a guest, and some of data are private, and then you will define who is able to access to this data. So here I will connect with my EGI check-in account. So I can choose the EGI check-in. I will check in with my arcade. So I need to authentify and to say it's me. So it's me. I sign in, and then I can automatically connect to PHIS. And then I will be able to see what my account allow me to see. So here I have a left menu that will allow to navigate into the web interface. You can see that when I connect, I can see, I can follow one variable that I've picked up and I want to see and to check every day. So here it's the air temperature data logging in degrees Celsius. And the left menu will allow me to navigate into the web interface. So first of all, I want to show you the experiment menu, and we'll work on the Sylvain experiment on sweet potato virus. So here is the description of the experiment. So on this first tab, I will have very generic metadata. I will have the name of the experiment, the period in which it has been led, the URI. I've been talking to you about identifying everything. The experiment as an URI. I have the description of the objective and the description, but also information about the project in which the experiment was led. So the project has also an identifier, the organization, so it's NAPI teams that have been leading this experiment, the facility, so in which environmental installation it has been led. So here's the plant screen compact system, the species, the factors, and the people involved in this experiment. So all these are metadata. I can also add metadata with document. So I can add document, and here Sylvain added the publication link to this experiment. So I can have a look on this and see that this is a publication with a title, and I can reach the publication here by clicking on this link. Then in this experiment, we've been studying viral disease. So these are the factors. So I can have a description of this biopic plant exposure factor with the different level to which the plants have been exposed. So I can see that I have a control condition. I have 2 different infection and 1 co-infection that is possible. Then I will have my experimental map. So I can see that I have the different plants that have been studied in this experiment. And for each plant, I have the information about this plant. So I have the identifier of the plant, the name, the type, it's a plant, but it could be another type. I have also the germplasm. So here it's Wachano, and I can have information about this Wachano. So this is a variety, a sweet potato variety. It's a wild type sweet potato, and it has been studied in this experiment. So these are my different plants. And then I can see the different data that have been collected during the experiment. So I can see I have some environmental data, such as air temperature, air relative humidity. These environmental data are linked to a facility. Here it's a growth chamber. And also I can find phenotypic data, such as the plant quantum yield that are linked to scientific objects. And I can also, I can here filter my data and consult by just looking at one variable, at one provenance, that is the acquisition session. So for example, I want to see only the, the data that have been measured by using this provenance. And I can see that I have this plant area and this plant perimeter. And I can see that this acquisition session, it's first data collected by the compact top view RGB2, and then there has been a software analyzing this data. And then I can visualize the data. So I can, for example, pick up one scientific object I want to consult, or I can take two. And then I would like to see image processing data. So I will pick up the plant area. I choose the date. So the date proposed are the date of the experiment, and then I visualize the data. So I can see the measurement started just there. I can have a zoom on this and pick up the chart line view. And then I have all the information about the measurement. So here is the information about my data. The identifier, the date, the value, the information about the provenance, so the acquisition session. And I can also see that I have the link to the image that has been used by the software analyzer to get the data. So here I will be able to have a look on the image, and as I have the information that this point has been measured due to this image, I'm able to make link and to annotate data if I find something weird. For example, if I have a podfall, I can annotate the data and say, okay, this point is weird, but I know why it's a podfallen. One other point that can be interesting, so here I will go to our sandbox. So we have a sandbox. The sandbox can be used by everyone to test fees and to discover it. So you can connect with the guest account. The guest account of the sandbox is a little special because it allows you to create and do things. That's not the normal way in OpenSelex. Most of the time, the guest account is just a consultation account. And then if we go on one field experiment, we can see that it's the same. We have a name, an URI, date, the objective, people involved in this experiment. And it's a field experiment, we'll be able to have a visualization of the map of the experiment. So here I can see that I can find all my plots with the information about each plant, so the name, but also the germplasm, the factor level. And I will be able to create some filters and to say, okay, I would like to see all the plots that have been well watered. So I have this representation. I can also cross the filter and say I want to see where this variety has been pretty less well watered, and then I can see is these two plots. And then I will be able to export this data on shapefile or GeoJSON if I want to use them in a SIG system. And I can also print the map or and PNG or PDF if I want to use them in a report, for example. One last thing I want to show you is that we have a web API that is used by the different web interface. So it's transparent for you as a user, but we have all these web services that are documented here that will allow you to see the documentation about each web service. So I chose this to you because it has this importance. So this is the Swagger I just saw you. It's based on Open API. So it's description of the different web services. You can explore the different web services, see the different return. And on these web services, we have developed interface. So with a Python script and R client package that allow us to create function and to, for example, develop automatic scripts that will send. You can add list data automatically by using a Python script and that are connect to these web services. So this is some example. We have more documentation on our website. So this leads us to the conclusion. PHIS is used in several phenotyping platforms. Some PHIS instances have been developed, have been deployed on the EGI Cloud due to EGI ACE project. We work with a lot of different standards, BREPI and MyAPI, but other. And we have a team, the Open Silex team behind this. So we are still working on new functionalities and we can adapt to different needs, to different contexts and domain. We provide support and we're linked to different research teams. And so I will end with this slide that is full of useful link. And please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any question. And you can ask a question now, because I think we have 15 minutes left to exchange. Thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Isabella. Any question from our audience? And you can, I see you can raise your hand and then we can allow you to talk. And that's excellent work, Isabella. It's to take a long time to develop into this maturity. And I'm curious how originally you choose to use EGI Cloud. What's the main intention there?
Well, we were working with Copenhagen and Helsinki University, and we wanted to deploy PHIS, and then we're looking for cloud system. And so that's how we heard about EGI services, and that was very useful because the EGI Cloud allow us to have an access to OpenStack, and with the OpenStack dashboard is very easy to declare, to create new virtual machine, to set, to put different settings on this virtual machine, to open the different ports we want to open or to close them, to have different groups. So it's very, very easy and very user-friendly. So that was really great. We had a good support from EGI with Andrea that is really always very reactive on our questions.
Thank
So
you. Thank you so much. I definitely pass this to Andrea. And how's your experience? So everything running smooth so far?
sorry?
Was the experience and everything running smooth so far for
Yeah,
EGI?
we had this migration last month that was a little tricky for us to deal with because we had new settings to do. But well, it has to be done. So,
Okay.
but it was great because we were informed before and everything. So yeah, it's really really nice. I see that there is a question about the redundancy.
Yeah, who actually be who is this? We can enable you to talk. Otherwise, Isabella, you can answer probably. Who raised this question?
Yeah,
raise your hand or
So the question is there only one cloud resource provider, SysNet MCC, and what about the service redundancy?
yeah, okay.
So do you have the answer, Yen?
Yes, at the moment we only use SysNet. And yeah, we do not we didn't really implementing any redundancy service. That can be a issue.
Mm.
Yeah. Jasper, do you? Oh, Vincent now. Okay, you can talk now, Vincent.
Oh, it's okay. You answered my question.
Okay.
That was just to know if you thought about that kind of problems,
Yeah.
because you have an web UI that is accessible by people. So if you have to do something on the underlying platform, it would be nice to have some redundancy.
Yeah, indeed.
Indeed, yes. Yeah, but at the moment, this contribution from CESNet mainly in-kind contribution. After EGIAs, they provide a resource as in-kind contribution. If we looking for new, more resource, probably we can go for a dedicated project and a collaboration or some pay for use and some other options. Yeah. If this is needed, we definitely should consider. Thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you to be here. And Jasper, do you want to say anything?
Well, it's just a question I put there with for how long people and institutions can expect for PHIS to be available on EGI servers, but I think you also partially answered that. It may have to change into a pay for use eventually.
Yeah, but most of our provider, they are really dedicated for supporting scientific research. In past 10, 15, 10 years, we have this tradition to support research community, especially PHIS is on emphasis that is impact for research infrastructure. So that's our main user community we love to support. So so far, CESNet promised to continue to providing this resource in a sustainable. Well, we have SLA. Each time we renew it, and there are no currently no problem for 1 or 2 years or something.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for this question. Thank you. Okay, any other question? And if not, we thank Isabelle. Thank you so much for this excellent talk. Very nice and very impressive, excellent work. Thank you. And thanks to our all audience. Thank you for your participation and especially for this holiday time. And thank you to be here. Thanks to Gran, who is behind the scenes, support us. And with this, we close today's webinar. I wish you a very good Eastern holiday and hope to invite Isabella come back to us soon to give us updating on this development.
Thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.